A new smart housing development is being built and near completion in Kurnell, south of Sydney, and it will be an Australia first to use blockchain technology. That's energy from a battery-operated virtual power plant. It will enable neighbours to borrow and share power that will in turn slash more than $2,500 from their annual power bills. Joining us with the details of how it will work when it's completed in September is Chris Williams, the CEO and founder of Natural Solar. Chris, welcome to you. Great to have you in the studio. Now, this is a bit of a prototype for Australia, isn't it? But there have been similar types of developments done overseas. How do they work?
So we've seen similar type of projects in Europe. This is the first time in Australia that we've had a virtual power plant of this type using blockchain technology. Obviously, it's a very exciting thing to be a part of. So it's a great product, yeah. And
how many people can sort of use it at once? How big have the communities expanded to be?
So the great thing about this product is it's actually infinitely scalable. So what we've done here for this particular development, the developer had an issue. In order to build the 12 properties, they were required to upgrade the network infrastructure, and the cost was about $250,000. What we've actually done is provided a solar and battery solution, which is about $20,000 less than that, so they're cash flow positive upfront straight away. And that system, it's a solar and battery on each of the properties. They join together to aggregate to create one larger battery, and that battery has actually stopped the need to upgrade the network. So it's a really exciting development for us to be involved in.
Yeah, it is. So the people who've bought into it, have all of the residences sold?
Yes. Yeah.
And so the people who've bought into that they know that was a selling point of the development itself, I presume?
So it's actually something that the developers included themselves off their own bat. They've done so because it was cheaper than upgrading the network, but obviously what it does offer is a saving of about $2,500 per property ongoing. So we see the total savings across the entire life of the system to about over $600,000.
So it's possible then that the people who are moving in don't really even know that this is what they're getting, or may not fully understand what they're buying into. Is that likely to become more common, do you think? Is this going to become more commonplace as housing and building developments come online?
Look, we see this as the tip of the iceberg. I mean, for the developer market, the flexibility with the product that we offer, how it can actually be implemented, we can look at embedded networks, we can look at even apartment buildings just to have a battery in each apartment. This really is the tip of the iceberg of what we're looking at the moment, and we see a lot of growth in the market.
Now, I know you've said it's infinitely scalable, but if we look at the example of these 12 homes in Kurnell, how exactly will it work amongst such a small group of people?
OK, so essentially the 12 batteries will communicate together. In the event that they're using more or about to approach upon the max threshold for the site, those batteries will actually discharge and keep it under that threshold. So they work together, they communicate together as one larger battery.
And how does that then impact on people's energy bills? How much sort of traditional energy do you need to draw on?
Yeah, so the great thing about this solution is not only do we have a battery and solar, and we've saved all these costs up front, we're also guaranteed a $0 electricity bill for each of those occupants. So they get 7,500 kilowatt hours per year under the solution of Son and Flat. They opt into it, which 98% of customers do opt in. So essentially their first 7,500 kilowatts across the year is free. Which is exciting.
Now, was there any particular reason Kurnell was chosen? I mean, it's quite interesting because there would have been no power for a lot of homes in Kurnell a few years ago when that mini tornado ripped through there. And will it affect people who are off the grid? Are they sort of vulnerable to weather patterns, or are they more sustainable?
Yeah, so it's a good point. We always have the backup of the grid, the redundancy of the grid. So in the event the batteries are empty, there's no sun out, the solar panels aren't producing, yeah, we can draw power on the grid. We don't expect that to be too often, though. We expect the state to be about 95% self-sufficient.
Is there anything else that's special about this development? Are there any other sort of green measures, or was this purely done as a cost-saving measure?
Look, it's obviously there's an appetite out there amongst developers to get into this technology. The blockchain is very exciting, virtual power plants, but I think primarily what's driven this is obviously the financial return immediately, but the consumer interest behind solar and batteries is very strong. We've seen that transition over the last couple of years at Natural Solar, and I think it would be remiss of developers not to actually look at this and examine this technology as a potential option when rolling out properties. We'd like to think that within sort of 3 to 5 years' time, the upgrade of a solar and battery may just be a marble benchtop type upgrade option, which is always included.
And do you have any other developments in the pipeline? Is this the biggest one you've sort of had come online so far?
We have many at the moment. We're working on many projects, up to 850 at the moment. As I said, we see this as the tip of the iceberg. What we're doing is very exciting. Everyone at Natural Solar comes to work very excited to see what we're implementing, and the developers we speak to really embrace the technology as well. They understand the financial benefits for the construction of the development, but they also get the fact that consumers are very interested in the technology.
And do the residents who are buying into it, is that something that the developers are using to get them in there, or is it just something that they're blissfully unaware of?
Look, the market at the moment is obviously normalising, and what we're seeing as that trend continues is developers have to be a little bit, they need a point of difference. They need something to say, why are you going to buy my property versus one, 500 metres away? We see that as a key defining point, the solar and battery solution that's going to set them apart. There's going to be the asset appreciation for the homeowner, and there's many other benefits behind doing so.
Yeah, once you get your head around it, it certainly sounds like the way to go. Chris, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.